All right.
All right. Do me a favor and just clap your hands in front of your face. All right. Start off. Just tell me your name a little bit about.
John Olvey, Johnolv as in Victor, EY. My name is John Olvey, and I have been surfing for 50 years. When I first started surfing, I was a youngster. There was a group, I was in elementary, and the kids that I ran around with were in junior high or starting high school. So, and they weren't the really top dogs, but we all started going to the beach in the classic, as we call them, classic cars now. And it was a very close-knit camaraderie. Everybody's having fun. And because back then, none of us knew how to surf. We didn't know people that knew how to surf. We saw them in magazines. So we had either still shots or these great imported Super 8 videos of, oh my gosh, look at that. They're in Mexico and they're in Hawaii. And we started going, wow, that guy can really turn. Oh, wow, look at this. And we, it was all hooping and hollering over what other people could do. So we did whatever it took to get out there and just try as fast as we could to get better. But we were on antique equipment. So it took me, I started as a 9-year-old, and it took me probably till I was 12 to be physically, at 9, you don't even have motor coordination, but by 12, I started really surfing. Turn, go right, go left, come back. I could actually maneuver around the wave. Other than that, I was a traffic bump out in the water. And that's one thing back then, if you were a road hazard, your buddies and everybody else would let you know, hey, kid, get out of the way. Things are different now. I think they've got documented to early 50s.
Do you know who some of the first people were?
They're at the museum, and we had a gentleman who was a lifeguard out of Galveston, Leroy Colombo, and then also a guy named Doc Paskowitz. Doc is in his late 80s now, and he moved on to California in the early 60s from Texas, and has much fame and notoriety. I highly recommend you read up the story on Doc Paskowitz.
How was the scene in the 60s and 70s compared to now?
Okay, well, now it's right now we are at a really heavy bloom of surfing again. It has gone in waves to where you'd have a huge, in the 60s we had all the old Hollywood movies, Beach Blanket Bingo, all that stuff, and surfing was in its heyday in Texas. People were buying surfboards, learning how to surf. We're actually having a resurgence of that now. With the equipment that is out there now and the ease of some spots to get out and learn to surf, I am seeing more people at a younger age and more girls again, and everybody's learning how to surf. You can go out there and you can look at people that are in their 50s and 60s that are learning, and you've also got a whole crew of youngsters that are really enthusiastic. So I think we're in a resurgence again. I think we've gone through that probably about 3 times.
So whenever you travel out of state or out of the country and you tell people that you're a surfer from Texas, what's the initial reaction that they
Well, they usually they're very happy. They actually consider us non-threatening. There's a given theory that Texas doesn't have surf, which generally speaking it doesn't, but we are so dedicated, they say, man, you're still surfing, and then they'll watch you. And I was at a very heavy localized surf spot in Hawaii that is known for how bad they can treat you in the water. And I was just paid respect to everybody. I sat, I didn't try to catch a lot of waves, didn't catch anything for about an hour. I just sat there. And when I finally took a wave, it was the biggest, baddest wave I could find. And they had been watching me because they said, he's not even paddling. Does he even surf? I caught that wave and I rode the heck out of it all the way to the beach. When I got back out, they all wanted to know, who are you and where'd you come from? And I told them, and they were quite happy. Wow, you're from Texas. You surf pretty good, brah. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. How you guys doing? Everybody okay? Because we are a more humble group than what they're used to seeing. and I was in Hawaii. So they see these kids from California come out there with no respect, jump all over their playground, and treat them really with disrespect, and they don't like them at all. And then they also have the same problem with these kids from Australia. So Australia is pretty easy to get, Hawaii is pretty easy to get to from Australia. So once they see that you've got a little bit of class and that you know how to surf, you are one of the brothers. They don't bother you at all. Oh, it is. We're a third world country. I've actually been asked, so you tanker surf? And that was because of a movie that was out not long ago that people, they showed, and now we're going to Texas. And they showed the people in the Ship Channel in Houston chasing these waves made by big tankers coming in the Ship Channel. I actually think that people think that's the only surfing we have. But when Texas gets good, the best Texas offers is probably an average day in Hawaii. But that's fine. Yeah, it's pretty tight. Everybody here is real friendly. Now remember, we're one of the last states in the union that you can drive your car on the beach. That's huge because now it's a family atmosphere. We're not all huffing in our equipment. And when you can sit down and pull your car up at the beach, bring the dog, have a normal day, and you're not trying to trek in. In California, you got to park somewhere away from the water, find a spot, grab your stuff, lock your car, hide your keys. Here, you don't have that. You just, I've left my back of my car open while I surf, and it's just not a problem. So we're very low key. Now there are some areas up and down the coast that are, I wouldn't do that, but it didn't used to be like that. We're changing for the worse, but we still have our bright spot. No, because I competed against other Texans. Yeah. It wasn't probably until I was in my 20s that we went to California for my first event where I was actually competing against what I would call, the real surfers. And I knew I was in shape. I had taken my job seriously. I was in the right place at the right time on the right equipment. I knew how to surf. I got beat, but I didn't know the waves. And when it has a lot to do. I don't care if you're a bass fisherman, if you're a surfer. You got to know your local spot. Once you know your local spot, you're going to get the gems. The guy in a lake is going to get the best fish because he knows this time of day, this water temp, that spot. Here, we know every little subtlety of every wave wherever we're surfing. I didn't know the waves in California, so that's really what got me. I didn't have the rhythm right. Now later, I had surfed there more. I understood the Pacific better. I was more seasoned as a competitor. I was still in the right place at the right time. I was at the top of my game physically because I actually trained. And yeah, I did well. So I took it past being from Texas. I was just proud that guys, don't underestimate us. And it's kind of like on any given Sunday, you don't know who's going to have their A game. I had an A game. I brought it with me, and when I laid it on the line, I was just you go 100% or 110, and then you're ready. It's like any sport. You've got to train at 110%, perform at 90, so you don't make mistakes. Don't try something you've never done 1,000 times before. And yeah, I was proud that I didn't screw it up. But yeah, I was, and then I was from, and then it was from Texas. My favorite thing, that's the best question ever. My favorite thing about surfing is early morning, beautiful water, green, clean water. The sky is sparkling, the water is shimmering, and you are out in something that God gave us that is it's just so incredible. You're just sitting out there, and oh, by the way, you get to catch a wave and ride the heck out of it. That, to me, that's just the fact that it's so gorgeous. And we're actually riding something that took days or more to get to where you're at. I can be surfing a wave and at my local spot, and down the coast 100 miles, the exact same wave. I mean, if you wanted to say it was the same wave, it is the same wave, it's just a different spot. Somebody's surfing the same wave I'm surfing down the beach. So that's kind of interesting. It's different than a lot of other sports. Oh, surfing is the only sport, or actually, yeah, well, you know, the surf is the only thing. You will stand and watch an empty arena. You can't say that about baseball. Looking at an empty baseball stadium means nothing. Looking at an empty football stadium means nothing. Soccer field means nothing. But people will stand on the beach and watch waves even when there's nobody out. And they'll watch an empty playing field going, oh, isn't that gorgeous? And I can't think of another sport where they go, wow, look at that. So we're kind of privileged to even be able to get out there and do it. No. When I first started surfing in Texas is because my brother was already surfing with other buddies. So actually the weekend JFK got shot, we were at the beach because I really didn't know at 9 years old what a president was. All I know is that there was no school and that we had 4 days off. And so we went to the beach. And after that, my mother really loved it. She always said that because you surfed, you would be at the beach all day, you'd come home, you'd pound down 2 macaroni and cheese dinners, and you'd go to bed. I did not party. Therefore, I missed that whole party scene crowd, and I was a very good student. So I got to do all of it. And a lot of kids right now, if I had to give anybody advice, you know, love what you do, but don't let it go to your head, and watch what lifestyle you fall into, because you don't know what's going to be out there. And it's going to be an interesting challenge for everybody to physically do a sport and try to burn both ends of the candles. You just can't do it. You see too many people fall. Professionals, they're blowing it. You know, they're doing that double-ended candle thing where I'm going to be great during the day and great at night. Well, I'm sorry, pick one or the other, because you can't be both. Tanker surfing and cowabunga is from Texas. It's a big phrase that people like to say. Cowabunga. Well, that came from a very famous California surfer that came to Texas one time. We took him out to the ranch. They put him on a real 2,000-pound longhorn steer. I mean, a true longhorn. And the guy was sitting on top of the thing. They handed him a surfboard, and the cow dropped a load of cow patties, and he went, "Cow-bunga, cow-bunga." Anyway, that's the origination of cowabunga. Yeah, they do. They actually do. I had a gentleman that went to the United States Surfing Championships with me, and he dressed like a cowboy. He was a good surfer. He actually grew up in Hawaii, but he's from Texas. He wore his cowboy boots on the beach, had his cowboy hat, and they all asked, well, where's yours? And I went, well, I'm sorry, I just never wore them. I also never learned how to two-step. I just never got into square dancing, and I'm sorry, I surf, but, you know. But yeah, they do. They actually want to ask you, and you know, we all joke around with them and tell them about the cows in the backyard and the oil derrick, and that how terrible the state of California is, and then all you guys are moving here because, you know, we're rich millionaires with oil fields in our backyard, which we know isn't true, but that's what they think. So